Self-aware millennial.
The wild thing is that by the time this people experience this, there will probably be a president-elect.
Yeah.
And hopefully a peaceful transfer of power. And yeah. I've been praying on some stuff.
Okay. Praying on, Lex.
Well, I've definitely been praying on, it's so wild because I never would have thought that I would be praying for Joseph Biden of Pennsylvania. Is that where he's from?
I think so, yeah.
To be the next president of these United States, but yet here we are.
Yeah.
And literally that is in my morning prayers for him to win the popular vote and the electoral college vote. And for there to be a peaceful transfer of power. That's the other thing. For there to be a peaceful transition and just like minimal violence around this particular election.
Yes.
You know, I really am praying that the people who, you know, feel the urge to kind of like randomly act out because they're disappointed that their Lord and Savior, Mr. 45, is going to be gone, that they choose another path. And yeah, I mean, I really, since, I don't know when, but definitely since a week ago, like I've had a very strong knowing that Joe Biden was going to win. So I'm not really too concerned about supporters of him or non-supporters of him who voted for him anyway committing any kind of violence, you know.
Yeah.
We've been talking about that all summer too, you know, the idea of like sort of righteous protest, righteous violence even, or righteous like destruction.
Yeah.
And I definitely do believe that there's a place for that, but certainly the election of one of these old white men versus one of these other old white men, like to me, it's not all that.
Same coin.
Right. It's not all that. So
yeah.
I really hope that, you know, instead of violence, we can channel energy into like where we're headed next. And, you know, I know you've been aware of some of like where my mind has been, but I'm thinking a lot about repair and reconciliation, where it's possible.
Yeah.
Where it's possible, right?
Where it's possible.
Because some of us are magicians, but not all of us are magicians out here.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's no magic wand to fix some of the very, very deep wounds. But yeah.
I think you're on the right track though, Lex. The way that you have been presenting like your thoughts online with it has been pretty remarkable. That's why I'm like, I have to get Lex on the podcast. And I'm so happy that you finally are here.
Thank you, Jess.
You're welcome.
I can say your name on this podcast.
You can.
You're not you're not secret, like using an alias or anything to try.
I mean, it's not really my alias. I just like I like J.Mix as my nickname.
J-Mix.
But if you know me like outside, like obviously I did not even know that we auditioned for Singing Server together. Right. So those kind of people, I'm like, you can call me Jess because you knew me then as Jess.
Yes. Well, I like J-Mix. I want to honor you being asked to be called J-Mix, you know, because that's what you want to be called. And I also relate to it because I used to go by Alex. And then a couple other names. There was, you know, Alejo was in there. There was a minute where I asked to be called Alexander.
Oh my gosh.
I insisted when I was in eighth grade, I insisted that everyone call me Alexander because I went through my like I'm grown phase.
Yeah.
And also like Lauryn Hill was very, as you can see, she's right there in the background.
Yes.
He was kind of like my guides, my idol, you know, mentor at the time. And I was really deep in her MTV Unplugged album. And there's just a lot of messaging at that time around like respect on her terms, her integrity as an artist. You will address me the way that I want to be called. I want to be called Miss Hill.
Yes.
I don't want to be called Lauren anymore. And, she really, it was a part of reclaiming her agency as a person and as an artist. And so, as a 14-year-old, I was like, well, I want my agency too. So I wanted people to call me Alexander, and I also wanted them to spell it Alexandyr, which is not how it's spelled. That was literally me just copying Lauryn Hill. So,
oh man, but hey,
foolish behavior.
It's not that foolish. I mean, if anything, it's a part of your journey. It's a part of how you wanted to grow, and that's the best way you could find your identity at that time. It may not be that way now, but it's okay. Yeah. Go through your moments, and then you realize, okay, I don't need that anymore.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that validation. I appreciate that.
No problem. Yes. Now I'm going to make sure I validate the rest of this audience. So how y'all doing? Just so y'all know, this is like my second take because the first one, something happened to the microphone. And I had to try to figure out what was going on, but it's all right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Self-Aware Millennial. I am your host, J.Mix. And as we all know, or at least by the time, as Lex said a little earlier, by the time you're listening to this, we will hopefully have a president-elect, and it's hopefully not going to be the one that's in office right now. But
yes.
If you decide to click off of the episode at this point because I said that, then bye. But if you want to stay tuned for the rest of it, which we'll be talking about, we're going to go into more of like the collective healing portion of trying to figure out like how we as a nation can heal from the wounds of our past. Yes. And make amends, especially when it comes to like just social media and us even trying to like talk to each other online. And we just gotten to this point in our lives where if someone disagrees with us in the slightest, we just automatically cut them off. Not that I don't mind it, because some people need it for their mental health and, just so that they can stay sane. And they've tried already to reach out to these people. And some people just don't want to learn. Some people aren't open. They're not aware enough to get to that point. But we're going to go into that. First, I wanted to just give a quick just update on my last week. So the last episode I had with Thane was at the brink of right before the Hurricane Zeta came through. And literally that evening, I lost my power. I lost power for like 12 hours, which is actually not bad compared to a lot of other people, because a lot of other people didn't have, some people just got their power back on like today or yesterday.
Some people might still not have their power.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was very fortunate and lucky to have my power on. Like, I think I lost at like 5:30 in the evening. I had it by like 5 a.m. the next morning. Internet and everything. I was like, oh my gosh. So the episode with Thane like came out on time and everything. It was a blessing. So Hurricane Zeta came through, and then my body went through a hurricane because, periods are hurricanes for women, vagina owners. And that was, as y'all already know, fun. But another thing I wanted to just also reiterate, especially when it comes to periods in general, there's that period, at least for me, where I definitely have those PMSing episodes, but sometimes that PMS can go even further into depression. Like I was literally in depression for like 2 to 3 days, or at least it felt like depression. I've been depressed before, and I've been depressed for like, years and years on end at times. And I definitely felt I felt like I was in that same place for the last couple of days within this last week. And it was right after the hurricane came through. And I just definitely just a sense of hopelessness, unfortunately. But I'm better now. I'm a lot better. And I've been trying to take my meds. I also take Zoloft. If y'all don't know, if you're just joining for the first time, I take it every single day just to keep myself sane. And my anxiety is usually always really bad. So normally when I'm on the Zoloft, I can focus on other things and I don't let the anxiety take over me throughout the whole day. Because if I get on something, like if something bothers me, like it'll bother me for like the rest of the day, if not the day after, and I can't focus on anything else except how I'm feeling. So yeah, that's kind of why that's why I take it. but it's good, and I'm good. Like I'm good. And the last thing I wanted to talk about before we introduce our guests officially. So as we were saying, the election's not over. I think at this time, there's still 4 states that are still counting the millions and millions of mail-in ballots that are coming through, because with this election, and I can't wait to listen to this a year from now or 4 years from now, but this is like one of the most unique elections we've had in our lifetime. It's never taken this long to elect a president. Not that I can remember. I don't remember it taking like 2 days after election day or anything like that. But
the hanging chads.
Yeah.
Back in 2000, but I don't remember how long that took. Am I not supposed to speak because I haven't been introduced?
No. I don't mind.
No, I don't think that the process was the same, but I do remember there was like a whole litigation period because there were all those ballots that weren't counted in Florida because like the punch didn't go all the way through or something. It was the butterfly ballots. I don't remember what they looked like, but that phrase or that like those 2 words, hanging Chad. That was the hanging Chad. You know, I have a friend named Chad, and I hope that, you know, that nickname has not preceded him now because of that whole legacy. But there was some, you know, somebody sued. I think the Gore administration sued, and then or the Gore party. It took a while back then too, but this is different. This is definitely different.
Yeah, this is like I feel like this is solely because of the pandemic. And yeah, just, it's a very interesting time for all of us. So right now everyone's kind of like, you know, making sure that they count every vote, quote unquote, which is fine. I need them to count every single vote because I feel like, I mean, even right now, 45 is like claiming that there's fraud, if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to the ballots or whatever. And then like the night of the election, he was like, stop counting the ballots because I'm winning. And I think he's like pre-cursed his winning that night. I don't know. Either way, the point is we don't have a president right now, or I should say we don't have a president elect yet. So
nor do we really have a president.
When they finally do.
Yeah.
Elect.
Yes, we haven't had a president for a while. So yeah,
you're right.
Some of us haven't had a president.
Right. You're right. All right, y'all. Well, please let me welcome has become a really great friend of mine. His name is Lex Caron. And am I saying that right?
Yes. And actually, just before we start, and no shade or anything, but I actually use they, them pronouns. They, them.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. They.
And I do, yes. I will say also for the purpose of the podcast that I accept he, so maybe I didn't need to cut you off right there, but yeah, I prefer they, them.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. I will definitely work on that. I'm getting better at that. You're welcome.
Thank you, J.Mix.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, y'all, I just want to let y'all know I met Lex this summer. Or I should say, no, I didn't. No, we definitely met. We met when we were both auditioning for singing server at the World War II Museum. And
yes, we probably
years ago. This was like at least 4 years
2016.
16.
Yeah. Yep.
God.
Around Mardi Gras 2016.
I don't know why I can't remember you. That's so sad.
It's okay.
How long were you at the museum?
I was there through that spring and that summer.
Okay.
Then I went away early that fall to work on the cruise ships.
Okay.
It was just that time. Yeah.
Oh, so
I don't know that. Yeah, we didn't really ever cross paths at the museum, I don't think, but we met in the audition, and then like I feel like I've seen you around via your sister a little bit, but
yeah, but I was a belle that fall. Like I started as a belle that fall, so I'm like, why? for some reason I can't recall you, but also I didn't do as many gigs up until like the year after. I don't know.
Yes, yeah. That was right after, I think you probably started performing as a bell right after I stopped working as a server, maybe, or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so why did you not, did you get the singing server
Yes.
gig? You did?
Yes.
Shut up! I didn't know that!
Yeah.
Wait, I think I knew this then. I had to have known this.
Yes.
Wait.
Well, now we know each other.
Yeah. Wait, because I think the year like that spring after, were you there when we did Ain't Misbehaving?
I don't think so.
Okay, well then never mind. All right. Okay, well cool. Well, I met Lex at the museum. I don't remember it, unfortunately, but I'm glad that we have met each other once more in the streets, on these streets.
Yes.
We met at the June protest, and they offered me a woodblock, and the rest is history.
Yes. Yeah, which I actually, wait, hold up.
You still have it? Oh my gosh. So I'm just gonna let y'all know this woodblock that they gave me. It's still, did you fix it? Because I definitely messed it up.
I was literally just, I was working on some music with a friend right before I came here. So all of my percussion stuff is in my bag right now. But we could just pretend for the viewership that I just walk around with like multiple percussion instruments in my bag at all times. Cause
yeah.
Cause it's a nice fantasy.
It's wonderful though. I was so happy that you had them at that point. Cause I was already feeling like, like when it comes to the marches, I was like, man, we need some music out here. Like, man, like I need something to pump me up. And, you know, it was like the perfect additive, and I was already a musician myself. So it just kind of, cured my musician heart just a little bit.
Yes.
And now like, and I feel bad because like I was hitting that woodblock so much and I like damaged it. And I was like,
no.
No, I didn't. I did damage it though.
No, you didn't damage. Well, actually, and the thing about those wood blocks is that I was taking them home one time, and I kind of notoriously, I use a backpack that I have had since high school. It's just like one of those old, like up in the Northeast, which is where I'm from. I don't know if is LL Bean down here also.
Yes, it is. That was that was the backpack of my high school career. Everybody had an LL Bean book bag.
That's right. That's
St. Mary's Dominican High School.
Yes, and that is before people had cute backpacks. I feel like cute backpacks have really come into style now, but back in my day, backpacks were practical. Like we had to have a backpack because maybe they just don't have textbooks in the same way, but you had to have your math textbook, your history textbook, your English text, like all these huge books, and you needed a bag that could hold reliably at least like 20 pounds.
It was like if not more than that on your back.
Exactly. Before they started doing the rolly backpacks, which like I just never had that. So I still use that same bag, and it's been holding on. But the zippers are a little bit, a little wonky. So I was biking home from one of the protests with the wood blocks in my bag, and one of them fell out of the pocket. So then I was missing half my wood block. So I just got another set. And so I have another set that's like brand spanking new.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. It's all good. And you definitely didn't damage it. You just put your spirit into it, which I really, really appreciated.
Yes.
Because that's what it was all about, right? It was all about like
I was into it. I was like,
yes. We had a whole like little like percussion section, and your sister was there, and then I would always like, because I feel like because I recognized you and I knew your sister, so I knew that your sister like had good rhythm, and then like usually would rope in another friend or something just to like hold it together, to kind of help hold it together, but also to give people a little bit of like bounce to their step, because I feel like,
It helps when you're marching. Like if you've ever marched
yes,
in a band for a parade, like having that music, having it helps you get through.
yes, and it unifies, it collectivizes, it brings more of a spirit. Like, it was so interesting. You could tell when we were doing, like, sometimes we'd be doing a chant and we give them a little bit of like we give them a little like,
Yeah. Ooh.
and we'd set the chant to that, and you'd see people like kind of start like loosening up with their walk a little bit. And it's
Yes.
just like that is so what, and I feel like actually a lot of the organizers would agree with this and like speak to this sometimes in the talks and stuff, and it doesn't always come out, but when it does, it's like the revolution, there needs to be joy in the revolution, there needs to be pleasure in the revolution. There are more people who have been doing the work for a long time who are saying this, and
Yes.
I'm not one of the people who's been doing the work for a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
if the world that we're imagining doesn't have like rhythm, and it doesn't have dancing, and it doesn't have sex, and it doesn't have pleasure and all of that, that's probably not a world that I really want to live in.
Me neither.
We could be like much more frugal in terms of our stuff and in terms of like the material things we need or even what we consume, but in terms of the things that are very natural to human existence, that are music, art, creativity, connection, sex, dance, pleasure, building, all of that, like, we need to have that. So it feels really good. Like, that's why I always bring my percussion, because like I always want to like add that vibe and that spirit. And we can just feel it. You can really
Yeah.
feel it.
Well, I know we and everybody else that is
Yes.
out there appreciates when you bring your
Thank
instruments.
you.
I need
And-
to start carrying my own.
Yes, you bring, and like people could be bringing like a clarinet or like I don't know why clarinet and oboe. I think it's because my one of my friends who's not your sister, who's named Whitney and is also a singer,
Uh-huh.
she brought an oboe to a protest march before this wave of protests.
Uh-huh.
And it was so funny because she like hadn't played in a long time, but she was like, I just wanted there to be, music, because it was that protest was about the musicians who were playing, the brass band that was playing outside the bookstore on Frenchman Street, them getting one of them getting arrested by the cops.
Yes.
And then musicians came together. So like, she's like, I'm gonna bring my oboe. I'm gonna play it. It feels like a very of this place. And actually, like, some of my favorite protests and marches that I've been to, again, not this year, but years ago, the organization putting it on would pull together a brass band, or they'd hire a brass band, to be at the front. And you can still chant to that. You can still chant to it. And you can, in my opinion, you can kind of chant better, because you can, what you were doing at the last one, where you had that chant that you always return to.
Yes.
You made it musical, where you're like, if we don't know what we're doing, we're just going to come back to this crowd. What you got? What you got? We got a lot. That allows us to actually move seamlessly from one to the other and maintain the same rhythm, to still be chanting with our footsteps. Like, it's all, that is so much energy. And that's what it is for me.
Same. That's how I be too. And like, I mean, I will say this summer was like my first time really being a part of this, being a part of community and going to these rallies and protests. And as I've said in my last couple of episodes, like, I just feel as though, at least for me, it feels so much more safer to be in community in that way than it is for me to just walk down the street by myself, like on a regular day. Like, I definitely feel a lot more protected.
Yes.
More empowered, enlightened out there.
Yes.
I feel like I learn a lot every single time I go.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I relate to that. I resonate. I wish that like that message could be, could find its way into the ears of so many people who are like anxious about going to,
that too, and
anxious about going to protests, or who aren't sure if there's a space for them there, or who think it's just like angry, it's just yelling, it's like a aggressive energy. If they could understand that, and it's probably not true for everybody, but I certainly feel very lifted up, very inspired, hopeful after I
Yeah.
leave. Even as like the bullshit continues, it's just like to reconnect with people who are committed to building something different and envisioning something different. Like I am nourished by that collective spirit. I feel like that's what you're talking about too.
Yeah.
And and I really appreciated actually at the beginning when you were introducing and talking about medication and experience with depression, which is not, that's not my journey. I mean, I've definitely experienced depression and anxiety before, and I'm not medicated, but I feel like there are so many people who are depressed, who are anxious, who are medicated or maybe could use medication, who like have really been struggling through the pandemic and really been struggling through the summer. And again, like I heard this from so many friends where they were just like, I just don't have the capacity to be out there. I don't have the capacity to, and I honor that and respect that. And I
Mm-hmm.
also just have this feeling that if some of those folks were to go out and be present with folks, instead of experiencing it as a draining, triggering any of those things, they actually might be filled by the
Yeah.
experience in a way that, your chemicals in your body sometimes let you down. Like
Yeah.
community and spirit can sometimes really help with that. Not always, but
Yeah. And that's okay. I mean,
yeah.
everyone has like different reasons as to why they can't be out there. Some of them are immunocompromised. Some
Yes.
people have families that are elder and they live with them and they're around them all the time, and so they just don't want to,
Yes.
risk anything. So I understand that the people that are out there and they're risking themselves. But the
Mm-hmm.
cool thing also is that I feel like at the rallies, like everyone is very, like we're very conscious. We try to stay 6 feet apart. We're all wearing masks,
Yes.
and it's we still get things done. And like even the speakers that are on the mics, they spray it down
Yes.
with J.Mix or whatever for each speaker.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're they're trying their best, but it's the thing is, it's like even through a pandemic, there's still a lot going on, and there needs to be someone out
Right.
there, some sort
Right.
of community out there calling out the bullshit of what capitalism is. So
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
um
And the bullshit has certainly continued. There was maybe a very brief respite in the bullshit, and then the bullshit like ramped up.
right.
And, I remember seeing, I think it was a Medium piece early on in the pandemic that was like, be warned, like pretty soon you're going to start seeing all kinds of advertisements for things that are going to be exploiting the experience of having been in isolation for a while, are going to try to find a way to market their product to you specifically because you've been
Yes.
on your own, or like, the car commute commercials. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I forget who it was who observed that in the car commercials, they're talking more about like, when you're on your long road trip, because like people are afraid of flying. So they're trying to like capitalize on, okay, no one wants to get on a plane. So, let's try to encourage people to buy a, SUV so that they can drive their whole family. And, people are wanting to be out in national parks instead of in big cities. So we're going to orient. So kind of using the experience of the pandemic to push capitalism even further. And then, of course, like the erasure of what we've been through. That was another thing that the article tried to warn, that like they're going to really try to make you forget. They're going to try to make you forget what the experience was of being on your own. They're going to try to like pretend that it never happened.
We already see
They're
that
going to try to pretend that it's not happening still.
Yeah.
All of that, and it's hard. It's really hard to, to make daily decisions when there's so much confusion and like gaslighting energy around, well, I feel like this is what science is telling me to do, but the leaders are pushing me in a different direction, and everyone around me is getting a regular job, and, tourists are coming. So,
Yeah.
So
tourists are coming. Yeah,
the tourists are here.
They are here.
They are
Well,
here in abundance. Yeah.
let's talk because I just realized we never even did. Okay, so I don't know if you've like listened to any of my podcast episodes as of late.
Yeah. Yes.
But
Yes.
I have a segment called Ponytails. It's like a little
Okay.
icebreaker, even though we've been talking for like the last, I don't know, at this point, 2 hours
Right.
because of everything that's happened. But
Yes.
I wanted to just, well, before we let me do my little intro. Ponytails, everybody who is just listening for the first time. It's spelled Tales. It's an icebreaker where I ask my friends to tell a tale with a ponytail in their head, and then I give them the name of a topic, and then we both share our ponytail. And this is
Ooh.
perfect because what I want to talk about was something that we were already kind of discussing. But the ponytail topic for today is going to be to describe your life before lockdown of COVID-19 and how it has transitioned. Like, how has your life transitioned since then? Now you don't have a ponytail holder. I know you have like a little hair up there.
Well, I could. You know what I'll do? Hold on. I'm gonna get festive for you.
Okay. Well, while you're getting festive, if you're joining us on YouTube, I have a fro right now. I normally like rock my braids, but I took them out the other week, and oh my gosh! So what Lex
I don't know if there's a way that I can rig this so that.
So what Lex has is, it looks like a maraca situation.
So this is actually a rainbow fan with fabric attached to it. But yes, but I'm just gonna hold it like this for a while so that I can comply with the needs of the segment. I hid my self view because I don't need to see myself. Let's see.
It's okay.
Okay.
This
is what we're gonna do.
All right, so Lex has their ponytail. What I'm gonna do is just show a quick tutorial on how I use my little pony bun when I have a fro. Because I can't use like a regular hairband. I have to use old, what's it called? What's this thing called? An old pantyhose.
Yes.
And so what I basically have to do, like wrap it around the back of my head. If you're watching YouTube, you're gonna be like, "Oh, Jessica." But I think a lot of natural hair ladies still don't know about this little hack. But all I do is tie it up front, start it from the back, tie it up front, and then I just tighten it, and I keep pushing it up from like, all parts of my head, if that makes sense. And then I just tie it, tight, and it creates a nice little front, or I should say puff situation.
So good.
Yeah. And it
also
doesn't even fit. You can't even see everything. My hair's so big you can't even see the full bun.
It looks so good. J.Mix, also, I think that your last episode, your hair was different, right? You had not.
My hair.
You had braids in it?
Yeah, I still had braids at that point.
Yeah, it looks so good. I feel like I missed an opportunity at the beginning of this talk to just comment on how beautiful your hair looks right now.
Oh, thank
gorgeous.
you, Lex.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. I've been working 8 years for this, so it's been a long time coming. All right, so let's describe our life before lockdown and how it has transitioned since then. I'll start just because a lot of people already know my life. As y'all know, I started as a Victory Bell before lockdown. I was also a server at Lila Jean, which is it's a restaurant in the CBD here in New Orleans. I was doing that, and those are like my two main jobs, and it was a lot. Like, they were both technically part-time, but like I was definitely working full-time hours at both of those places, depending on the season. And it's so funny because like even at this time last year with the Bells, this is the first year that I have not, obviously this is the first year I have not had to perform for veterans. We call it Veterans Month. With the Victory Bells, because like there's literally a veterans performance like pretty much every single day of the month of November. And so like we're basically just kind of going. We are like all over the country performing from the beginning of November until the Christmas show at the museum opens like at the end of November. So like November's usually like my really like it used to be like my busiest month. So it's so interesting to like be here now and not have any of that as like what I'm doing. And I mean I did, as like a lot of y'all know, I was a belle like even up until quarantine and like past quarantine, like COVID-19. I just left about a month ago. But no, definitely things have definitely changed since then. A lot of them already know that my life is just like transformed. I started this podcast right when quarantine started. I think I started it maybe like a couple of weeks before COVID-19 actually hit and they had to like shut everything down.
Right.
But it's definitely transitioned my life for the better in understanding that I forgot how I never like had time for myself up until that point. And I think even when I was like in lockdown, like, you know, locked in my apartment for like the last couple of months, I enjoyed it. I was like, I don't want to be out working for someone else anymore. Like I really enjoyed just like being able to kind of just be in my own little pod here and like work on my music and work on the podcast and like just do creative work. I was really like empowered by that. And I was like, I can do this. I can work for myself. I can be the creator that I've wanted to be this whole time. And, you know, I don't have to necessarily give my talents to other people unless I want to. Like, it's not, it's, yeah. So that's kind of where I am right now. It's been interesting being unemployed, but I don't consider necessarily like everything that I'm doing right now, even with the podcast, like I know I'm not making much money from it. So I know I'm technically still unemployed, but I still like, this is all very much work for me. Like throughout the whole week, like I'm working on the podcast. So I feel like I'm working, I'm just not getting paid for it yet. So.
Yet. Key. That's key. You got to call it in.
Yeah. But we're getting there very, very quickly, hopefully. So how's your life been?
How has life changed? Or
yeah,
what was life and how has it changed?
Yes.
Well, I feel like there's actually a lot of parallel between what you described of your life and what was going on in mine. And, you know, we're both artists, musicians, kind of, you know, community oriented organizer type folks. So I'm not surprised by that. But God, before the pandemic, I was stressed and pressed. Like I was
stressed and pressed. Me too.
Like, honestly, and in some ways, I gotta say, like I still am, but it's very different things that are causing me stress. I feel like I'm much more aware of what the things are. Before it was like I was so busy and so kind of all over the place that I didn't have time to take a step back and be like, oh, maybe I'm stressed because like I live in a fucked up white supremacist, capitalist, exploitative, imperialist culture that doesn't want me to access my joy. I wasn't necessarily aware of that because
you're so busy. Nobody is. You're so caught up in it.
I was so I was singing in a wedding band that was not bringing me joy. I was in a funk band that did like local and also regional performing and touring. That was really, for the most part, not bringing me joy either. It was fun. The performing was fun, but there were so many toxic interpersonal dynamics in the band and a feeling that was validated, or it was affirmed by things that a couple other people in the band said, that some people in the band did not want me to really be the full expression of myself in that band. They wanted me to tone it down, like they thought I was taking up too much space as the front person. And anyway, so that was kind of a stressful situation. I was leading I was one of the organizers for a childcare collective, and I was also living in a 2-bedroom house with my ex.
Oh gosh!
And, and we'd been living together. We moved into this house. I still live in this house, but we've been living in this house we moved in when we were still together, and then 7 months after moving in, we broke up, but we continued to live in the house together for 11 more months after breaking up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Including the first like 3 months of the pandemic. So yeah. So we could get to that. I mean, I feel like there's so much that you and I could talk about. Here.
Yes, I want to hear about this.
Yeah, yes, I might need to be a repeat guest.
Yes.
Oh my God. Should I do a little interlude now, or we could come back to this?
We can always just edit this part out and put it like on the Patreon or something. Okay. I want to hear about this.
Okay.
I've got time.
Well, okay. Well, let me get to.
We can talk about it later. Let's talk about it after we do all this, and then
let's put a pen in it. Exactly.
I'm gonna make a note.
Yeah. Yes. Because I think it relates to a lot of other things that we could talk about, or also that I feel like you have talked about on this podcast in terms of like non-traditional relationships, polyamory, the difference between being in an intimate romantic partnership and being in a domestic partnership. And, there's just all kinds of things to explore there. And he was actually, side note, he was over here last night. We're still friends, or we're working on our friendship. And he came over and we just played music together for like 3 hours, which is something that we rarely did when we were in relationship together, but like is something that is more possible now, which is pretty cool.
Don't you love evolution and growth sometimes?
Yes. It's like, what are the things that we actually do, like enjoy, support, and affirm in each other? Let's lean into those things, and wait, all that other bullshit that didn't work, we can like let that. We can let
you
that
don't have
die.
you can let it die, but you can't. It won't be forgotten.
Right.
You can let it die. Yes. Yeah. Let it die.
Yes. Like that. Yeah. We don't need to keep trying to hold on to those things. But there's all this other green grass over here. So let's go play in that. Because why not? But so the pandemic, it came out. It had its coming out party in Louisiana in mid-March. My band actually broke up right before the pandemic, which was kind of an amazing, weird, auspicious timing of things. Like we had some tours that were planned for after that, but we played the Crew de Vue Ball, which was like the biggest show that I've ever sung in my life. Like, it was so fun, and it was just, I was on mushrooms for that performance, which I'd never done before. I attempted a split on stage while singing a Prince song and pulled my hamstring.
Oh my God!
So I was really homebound for the first couple months of the pandemic. Like when I tell you, I went down into the split and I could feel the like the fifth song in the show, and I had to we had another hour of the show left, and I still had to keep going.
Oh my God.
But we broke up. I think the next day the band had a conversation. We're like, it's time for us to disband. So that ended before the pandemic hit, but my wedding band was still together. The school is closed. All of our gigs were canceled or postponed. It wasn't safe to do communal childcare anymore. So I just went into full hibernation mode. And the timing was actually amazing in some ways, because I was involved in some spiritual work at the time that was basically just telling me get quiet, be really small, be really still, take stock of what you have, take stock of who you are, appreciate your own beauty, appreciate the gift that all of that. So I actually for the first couple months of the pandemic, I was on unemployment, and collecting those checks, redistributing whenever I could, because I did not need that full check. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing about the pandemic, that about that part of the pandemic, when the government was at least making like an effort to pretend that they were taking care of us. Um, they were trying to act like they were going to show, they were showing us that they were whatever.
Yeah.
But that, you know, there was all this mutual aid that was basically coming from people who were getting these stimulus, you know, the extra unemployment boost. And it felt really good to be able to, you know, sort of for the first time in my independent life, like be like, oh, this person is asking for money. Let me just send them to like $100, like
Right.
literally no questions asked. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need to justify yourself to me. You're saying that you need a service, like go get it.
Yep.
And not being concerned that, you know, I wasn't going to have enough because there was abundance at that time.
Yeah.
I
miss those times.
Yeah, and things have obviously changed. You know, the unemployment stimulus is gone. My wedding band that I'm in is performing weddings again, but I'm not doing them with them because I don't think that that to me that doesn't feel ethical or safe right now.
Yeah.
To be gathering in that way.
Yeah.
And so it's been interesting. I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways I am very I feel very privileged to be mostly at peace most of the time. Like I feel trust in how things are working out. And I'm privileged, at least I think in terms of like my own hustle. Like we talked about this yesterday, but for the last like 2 months, I've been doing sex work, which is something that I had stepped into a little bit years ago. And then when I started performing full time, I stepped out of it and I'm back in it now and kind of like wading into that water. And that has been like, it has been fun. It's been giving me what I need in terms of resources. It's been nourishing me in certain ways. I think it's been nourishing and nurturing other people too. I mean,
what do you mean by resources?
Resources in terms of like I'm able to pay my rent, you know, without assistance. I'm able to pay my bills because I also, you know, I'm privileged in the sense that I have family that has, you know, I come from a middle class background. So if I were to really be struggling, I know that they would, you know, perhaps begrudgingly step in to help me while they could.
Yeah.
But so I just feel like that's also important to name, at least in terms of like talking about hardship or talking about, you know, resource distribution, talking about sex work, because that can get really testy for people where you have like, there's such a enormous universe of sex workers and how people relate to that work. And there's, you know, there's obviously survival sex work. And then there's, you know, different, genres or different forms that it takes in terms of, you know, anything from taking erotic photography to, you know, a full on kind of like dominatrix situation or, you know, house calls, erotic massage. There are so many different ways that can look. And some people are in it from a place of more privilege and some people are in it from a place of survival. And it really runs the full spectrum. And I feel like that doesn't get lifted up enough when having these conversations. And I feel like there can be a lot of resentment, you know, especially from folks who, and it's righteous, from people who, you know, are career sex workers who need to do it because there is not another option. Anyway, that's a big aside, but just to say that I've been leaning on that work. Who knows how long I'll be doing it for. It's working right now. So
you do what you got to do.
I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it.
Do what you got to do.
Yes.
And I mean, the other thing is, and I have some statistics here for the audience, just in case y'all are interested in just the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU. They have supported decriminalizing sex work since 1973.
Thank God.
And it became an official board policy in 1975. So, quick facts. Police profile the LGBTQ community more often than anyone else when it comes to sex work. Like they are hounding them. Black trans women of color have it the worst. And police often press prostitution charges based on clothing or condoms found in a like purse or like a pocket. So it's so dumb.
It's like, how can,
like,
it's like you should have condoms in your pocket. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if you're doing sex work, definitely, but like
anybody,
you, Mr. Officer, like, do you have condoms in your, can I arrest you for prostitution right now? Like,
right. But I found that very interesting because, like, to like say that you can go to jail or they could press charges just because you have condoms on you.
So
like
so
you
ridiculous.
should be like, even if you're not doing it for money or whatever, like what about people like myself? I'm polyamorous and I am having sex with folks all the time, and I'm not doing it for money, but like I always carry condoms on me. So like, why should? And I mean, obviously, they're not going to profile me because I guess I don't look like a sex worker or I'm not dressing like one. But who's to say, like, let's say they do pull me over and they find, why would, and the other thing is, like, why would they even go searching for condoms in the first place? Like,
our culture is so fucked up. Like, it is so stupid. The whole conversation around like the burden of contraception or the burden of like whose job it is to make sure, you know, I guess I'll start by saying like an STI doesn't pass from partner to partner, but like when we're talking about people with vaginas, to make sure that pregnancy doesn't happen, I mean, there's so much burden that is put on the person with the vagina to, you know, make sure that the sex doesn't happen, to, you know,
can
to
we give
be
a
on the
moment
pill,
of silence
to
of
be
Amendment
on
1? Because
God. Yes, because that did just happen.
But apparently, I never actually even had a chance to read it. All I knew was that I had to vote no, so I voted no. But the thing was, is like I think some people actually read it and it was misleading. I think they were like they couldn't. It sounded wrong. Like the way that it was worded made them want to write or select yes when they actually meant no. From what I heard.
That's how they do it. That's how they get you. But then also that's like the language around being pro-life. Like I am for life. Yeah. Which to me necessitates being pro-choice. Because people need to be able to make the decisions that are life-affirming for them. That's being pro-life to me. So pro-life, like if you cannot have a baby for whatever reason, then it shouldn't be your burden to just carry that baby to basically be a human oven incubator or whatever. Like, or you know, literally the you know, the example that's always used, like some people have complications in pregnancy, and if abortion were to be illegal, that person would literally just die. So you're actually, it's a death sentence to them to ban or to heavily restrict abortion access. Yeah. So it's just the language around it is always, it's backwards, and it always has been.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna actually, the funny thing is like today, I found out like I'm actually friends on Facebook with the person that helped them write that amendment. So I'm just gonna let everybody know because I feel like this is important. Let me see if I can find her right quick. I'm not gonna reveal her name or anything, but I will reveal who she works for. So the it's called the Bioethics Defense Fund. They provided pro bono legal consultation to protect their laws that help women choose life and to prepare for the day Roe is reversed and sent back to the states. And so they had provided legal consultation to Senator Katrina Jackson to draft what they call the Louisiana Love Life Amendment, which was the amendment that was put, you know, for Amendment 1. Again, not going to announce the person's name as who works for it, but I wanted everyone to know at least the name of the senator. The
Bioethics Defense Fund. I'm going to need to look into that after we get off this. Off this, because that sounds like some bullshit.
Yep. But this person has always been pro-life, and that's like what they do. Like that's basically their job. So like, it is what it is.
I really think that we need to stop using the term pro-life and start using the term anti-women. Like, let's just normalize. Let's normalize that. Because pro-life to me, like, I don't you don't get to have that. Like, you don't get to say that you're for life, because
Yeah.
I don't believe you. I don't agree with you, and the rest of your politics do not reflect like that. It's, I mean, again, it's that conversation about what are you doing to make sure that that child that is born out of whatever circumstance is taken care of, has the resources they need after they're out of the womb.
Right.
You're not in support of life affirming policies at all. So you don't get to call yourself pro-life. I'm not going to give that to you, you know? So.
Yeah. I saw it, and like, thankfully I was on my meds at that point. So I was just like, I'm good, whatever. On next, whatever.
Yes.
And the thing is like, I don't even know why they even passed that amendment. I mean, literally Louisiana is like the only state that now has that. Whatever, everyone else is, and the thing is like, as long as Roe versus Wade is not overturned or whatever, or
right,
the states have access to it or whatever, Louisiana really can't change anything.
right.
Like, it's
exactly.
I guess they are banking that the Supreme Court or whoever is going to reverse it, which I don't personally think will happen, but.
What interests me about all of this, and you brought up like the ACLU being in support of sex work, or legalizing or decriminalizing sex work for a long time, and with the statistics, and talking about Black trans women, and then thinking about abortion. Like, the thing is, you can restrict these things all you want, but people are still going to do them. Like, right. you can make abortion illegal. Like, did drinking stop during Prohibition? No, people just started speakeasies, and I feel like also there probably was, I don't know. There's somebody who studies history who would know this, but like, and I would say probably an uptick in like alcoholism also during that time, because instead of alcohol being consumed in a public space, in a safe space, in community, it then becomes this like tainted. It's the devil's juice. So it's something that goes into secrecy and into hiding, and people are much more likely to abuse something or to use it unsafely when they're in isolation. Like, I feel like it's much more easy for something to be for care and like the right steps and cleanliness. I mean, that's the conversation around harm reduction and needle use and all of that. Like, I would so much rather there be public spaces or, businesses that are like, hey, like, if you're going to like inject drugs into your body, like, come use them here. We'll give you needles that are clean. Like, we'll supervise you. You can hang out here while you're on it, so that you're not going to like be in a scary or spooky place. Like, we'll like test your drugs for fentanyl or whatever, like all of that stuff. Yeah. But abortion will still happen. Like, it's just, what's going to happen is it's going to be in secret. It's going to be,
it'll go underground.
You have people who have been radical people who have been studying to be nurses for a long time, and then people who have been going to midwifery school. And a lot of people are like, there's still midwifery school. What? Yeah. And one of the main reasons why there's still midwifery school is so that people can learn how to give safe abortions. That is one of, I know personally at least a handful of people, queer women, who have gone through midwifing programs, and there are only a few, to learn how to give an abortion. And it's just going to be those people who will be doing it in private spaces illegally at great threat to themselves, but the service is still going to be needed. Like, people aren't going to stop having reckless sex or, sex under a shame culture where, you feel like it's you can't show your face at the pharmacy buying condoms, or like nobody ever taught you about any of it. So I mean, there's just so many reasons why we need these services to be available. And I was going to say that about sex work too, that like, since living in New Orleans, I've been friends with countless people who have been sex workers for a long time, or who have been in and out of it, or who have started doing it more recently, or like, seeking arrangements and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes it feels like, it's so prevalent in our community, it's hard to believe that it's illegal. Yeah. But I guess there's also a lot of drug use in the community, and that's not legal. So there's a lot of things that are happening that are not legal. But But then
that a lot
right,
of people
like,
definitely turn a blind eye to, for
right.
sure. Like,
But you're also right to bring up like Black trans women specifically, and trans women of color who do sex work are like, I'm sure that the work does not feel almost legal to them. I'm sure there's much more targeted discrimination, persecution, all of that,
yeah.
by the police. And as we know, by other folks, by clients, by lovers, you know, there's so much violence against folks in that community.